Μιχάλη, είναι ανοιχτό. So. Okay, we're ready to begin. Excellencies, President of the House of Representatives, Member of Parliament, Ambassadors, Mayor of Nicosia Municipality, President, she's not here, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you all here this afternoon on behalf of the Municipality of Nicosia and the Multifunctional Foundation to this event marking International Women's Day that has been organized by the UNHCR office in Cyprus under the auspices of the President of the House of Representatives. It is a great pleasure for us to welcome you today at the premises of Nicosia Municipality Multifunctional Foundation, a foundation that is linked to social inclusion and social integration, that embraces diversity, that welcomes all, no matter their nationality, gender, color, religion, and disability. Over 82 million people are forcibly displaced all over the world. It is hard to comprehend the numbers, but half of the world's displaced are women and girls. Currently in Ukraine, women and children are the majority of those forced from their homes. Gender inequality is a root cause of forced displacement and a consequence of it. It is well documented that women and girls living in humanitarian crises and armed conflicts are at heightened risk. Despite the challenges, refugee women and girls are showing extreme resilience and strength all over the world and here in Cyprus. We will soon have the opportunity this evening to hear from refugee women firsthand about some of their experiences and challenges, but also their achievements. We will also hear from the work that local organizations and projects by volunteers, also led by women, are doing together with refugee and asylum-seeking women in Cyprus. Let me now welcome Mrs. Annita Demetriou, President of the House of Representatives.
Dear Katja, dear members of the UNHCR, dear Commissioner, dear Mayor, Your Excellencies, dear guests. First, I would like to thank you for extending an invitation to this event to discuss the refugee and asylum-seeking women in Cyprus, the challenges we have to confront and opportunities, especially on this special day, on the occasion of the International Women's Day. And I do believe that to hear these stories from refugees themselves, it's really important. I think we have a lot of things to learn. Human rights violations that are linked to gender discrimination remains one of the most widespread, prevalent, and largely unpunished area we need to confront. Accordingly, a comprehensive legal framework has been adopted at the international, regional, and local level, obligating state action towards equality in all its forms. But still, you will allow me to add that we have to do a lot of more things in order to confront equally and fairly to all these people that they are actually in need. Regrettably, though, refugee and asylum-seeking women are more often victims of violation of human rights, including discrimination on the basis of gender. That is why we do know that we have more women, girls, and children to be victims, if you allow me to say, from this situation. And as we speak today in front of all of you, another tragedy is unfolding in Ukraine with apparently devastating consequences and high risk for Europe and the entire world. The first victims in such brutal attacks are always women that need to leave their houses and move in an unknown direction, sometimes with young children in their arms. The migration and refugee crisis is a matter of concern for Cyprus, even more so in light of the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and the large number of people fleeing to Europe. As a frontline member state, Cyprus is called to deal with disproportionate migratory pressures compared to population and reception capacity. Of course, that is not an excuse if we have to give shelter to people that are actually in need. In addition, Cyprus has been a victim of Turkey's instrumentalization of migration, as 85% of asylum seekers and irregular migrants are channeled by Turkey through the areas under its military occupation to the government-controlled areas all by the sea. For that reason, the adoption of a holistic European approach to migration is of utmost importance to effectively manage migration and refugee flows. In this respect, we hope that the legislative package of the new Pact on Migration and Asylum can soon be adopted. Most importantly, though, a state that fully respects the rule of law and a country that knows how difficult it is to be a refugee and lost all your belongings, Cyprus introduces a mechanism for the integration of refugees and advocates the introduction of solidarity mechanisms in all European countries that will ensure the provision of substantial support and a more efficient integration program. The House of Representatives has approved legislation to establish a faster procedure for the examination of applications, which is already bearing fruit. However, there is always room for improvement. Through partnerships with the EU institutions, we can increase our efficiency in terms of speeding the process of asylum applications. In this context, a memorandum of understanding and a detailed action plan to support and strengthen migration management in Cyprus has been recently signed between the European Commission and the Republic. In addition, through parliamentarian diplomacy, the House of Representatives aims to increase cooperation with a number of third countries to overcome the challenges of migration and work together for integration, support, and return agreements. Recently, I need to say that I had an excellent meeting with Katja and Olga, and we discussed some suggestions to facilitate the process, and we will definitely take them into consideration. Today, I received a copy of your letter as well, addressed to the Minister of Interior and to us as well. That is why I did send a letter to the members of the Special Committee of this House of Representatives, and we will be waiting for the answer in order to proceed with our political pressure where it is applicable. I would like today to focus also on another challenge that we do have seen escalating globally, and unfortunately affects most of the most vulnerable people, women, refugees. And you can understand that I'm talking about the pandemic and COVID. Over the past 2 years, the COVID-19 outbreak and the measures governments have taken as a response, including lockdowns and strong measures, had as an unwelcome consequence the increase of gender-based violence. And statistics and numbers, they are clearly indicating what I'm saying. Many states have responded to these developments and adopted or revised legislation addressing different forms of violence against women. The elimination of violence against women is an issue of high priority for the Republic of Cyprus and for the House of Representatives, and commitments towards its eradication have been made at the highest level of the political leadership. Consequently, major developments have taken place during the last years in Cyprus with the adoption or revision of legislation dealing with a number of issues related to gender-based violence against women. In this regard, the Istanbul Convention has been ratified, and comprehensive legislation criminalizing all forms of violence against women, and has been adopted for the effective implementation of the Istanbul Convention. This new legislation defines the offenses of violence against women and domestic violence, and includes provisions for preventing, prosecuting, and eliminating these offenses. It also includes provisions for the protection of women from all forms of violence, the promotion of substantive equality between women and men, the design of comprehensive policies and measures to protect and support all victims of violence against women and domestic violence, the promotion of international cooperation to eliminate such forms of violence, and the provision of support and assistance to organizations and services dealing with such issues in order to adopt a more integrated approach in eliminating violence against women and domestic violence. The House of Representatives has also enacted 2 innovative laws on criminalizing harassment and stalking, and on combating sexism, which is the first country in the European Union, and online, of course, sexism, in line with the recommendation of the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe on preventing and combating sexism. Therefore, for the first time, the manifested forms of sexism, including online sexism against a specific person or a specific group of persons, is addressed through criminal law. The criminal code has also been amended in order to update the article on rape as to reflect the changes in social perceptions of modern society regarding what constitutes rape. In addition, new articles were added, introducing additional sexual offenses and corresponding penalties. Legislation has also been amended in order to include provisions specifying the minimum content to be included in the codes of conduct for preventing and combating harassment and sexual harassment at work, which the employers must adopt. And also the penalties for the violation of the provisions of this law has been increased. Most recently, we have also submitted to the House of Representatives a draft law with the purpose of introducing the crime of femicide. Femicide is the international killing of a woman or a girl by a man on the basis of her gender, and according to the provisions of the draft law, this crime will be punished by life imprisonment. The Femicide Bill proposes that any person who brings about the unlawful killing of a woman or a girl will be guilty of femicide, or he or she also was, even though if they were in a relationship with the victim or if they weren't. Other factors that will turn an unlawful killing into a femicide include family members, wherever they live in the same house or not, honor killings, religious practices, female genital mutilation, or unequal treatment based on gender. All the above developments in relation to the Cypriot legislative framework aiming to protect women constitute an important step towards equality. There is still a way to go, a long road ahead of us, and further improvements to be made, but I'm quite positive that we are on the right track. Thank you once again for this invitation, my dear Katja, and for your great team for organizing this excellent event. I'm looking forward to hear all the stories of all the women and girls that are here in this room. And I think we will be empowered by their strong will, by their courage, by the fact that they are here revealing their stories. And I can reassure you that the House of Representatives, I personally and my colleagues, we will stand by your side to be able to realize how we will cope better and confront this huge challenge that it affects all of us. Thank you again for this great initiative. Thank you all for being here. Looking forward to hear all the statements and stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Annita Demetriou, for honoring us with your presence. Please accept our sincere appreciation for your commitment on gender equality issues. I would like also to welcome with us the the Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General in Cyprus. Thank you for being here. Please, will you join me now to welcome Mrs. Katja Saha, the representative of UNHCR in Cyprus.
Excellencies, Annita, members of the Parliament, SRSG, ambassadors, Commissioner, Mayor, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to mark the International Women's Day, to celebrate women's achievements and to imagine together a gender-equal world. And thank you, Annita, for your commitment and for your support. The long road to gender equality and the participation of women in social, economic, and political life is already marked by many achievements. However, the way ahead to reach full parity is still long, and unfortunately, some hard-won gains in advancing gender equality have been eroded during the pandemic. Across the globe, women continue to face a wide range of challenges. In some societies, women and girls face discrimination and violence every day, simply because of their gender. Sexual and gender-based violence remains a critical challenge. An ordinary task, like collecting water or going to toilet, can put women and girls at risk of rape or abuse. Other challenges include obstacles to access education and jobs, and a lack of inclusion in decision-making. In times of displacement, these challenges become even more daunting for women and girls, who make up around 50% of any refugee, internally displaced, or stateless population around the world. And those who are unaccompanied, pregnant, heads of households, disabled, or elderly are especially vulnerable. 1 in 5 refugee women or internally displaced women has faced sexual violence. Sexual and gender-based violence is a serious human rights violation and a major public health challenge globally, known to happen in all contexts. Yet it remains underreported, especially among asylum-seeking and refugee women. Today, given the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that this situation has only worsened. Since March last year, UNHCR has reported a global surge in domestic violence, child marriages, trafficking, sexual exploitation, and abuse as a result of the pandemic. Likewise, for refugee and asylum-seeking women in Cyprus, SGBV remains one of the top challenges, along with their economic empowerment and meaningful participation in the local society. A report recently published by UNHCR showed that the overwhelming majority of survivors of SGBV are women and girls, despite the fact that most asylum seekers arriving in Cyprus are men. The report, which is the result of a study conducted by the Mediterranean Institute of Gender Studies on behalf of UNHCR, highlights the traumatic impact of sexual and gender-based violence on people seeking international protection in Cyprus. This study offers recommendations to better address and alleviate the consequences of SGBV experienced by persons fleeing war or persecution during flight, but also upon arrival in Cyprus. This study showed that unaccompanied girls transitioning to adulthood and single women with children are at heightened risk. It also includes reports of victims of trafficking arriving through the northern part of Cyprus who remain without timely or adequate identification. Survivors of SGBV report several traumatic experiences, ranging from psychological distress, anxiety, depression, severe headaches, sleep difficulties, as well as very low self-confidence and a fear of being re-victimized. Several survivors also report physical and sexual violence that in some cases led to permanent physical injuries. To this, we need to add a number of reproductive health issues, including sexually transmitted infections, unwanted pregnancy, forced abortion, miscarriage, and premature birth. The social implications are also significant. When describing their lives in Cyprus, it was clear that these women did not have strong supportive networks, either within their community or their host society. Furthermore, many had cut ties with their own families or had very limited communication with them due to a continued conflict in their countries of origin. All the survivors felt isolated, without access to social and family support that would act as protective factor and increase their psychological well-being. The main conclusion of this study is that more needs to be done to identify and to provide adequate and timely access to support services. Several recommendations were made, starting from the introduction of a systemic data collection on SGBV upon arrival that would enable the development of programs, policies, and measures that respond to the specific needs of survivors. There is also a need for more gender-sensitive support services in reception centers to prevent the risk of violence, as well as to provide support to asylum seekers who have suffered SGBV in their country of origin or during their journey. Segregation of women and children from adult men is urgent to mitigate the risks of sexual harassment, exploitation, and abuse. Equally important is to improve the integration opportunities for refugee women survivors through the provision of specialized support services, including childcare support for single mothers, housing, but also education, vocational training, and employment. But let's not forget that challenges always come with opportunities. Around the world, women survivors of SGBV and refugee women in general play a central role in their communities. Many were at the front line during the COVID-19 pandemic and disseminated health information, worked as doctors, scientists, and teachers, and supplied masks and soap in their own communities. Refugee women also run businesses and schools, provide safe spaces for women who have experienced violence, manage households, and help run refugee camps. To enable them to gain control over their lives, we need to ensure their voice is heard and their qualifications and talents are registered along with their needs. More than half of the over 82 million forcibly displaced people are women and girls. And while they are often the first responders when crisis hits, their voices are too often left out of the policies that are designed to protect them. Addressing gender-based violence and achieving empowerment of refugee women require a concerted response involving national authorities, humanitarian partners, civil society, donors, and forcibly displaced girls, women, boys, and men. Today we will hear from refugee women about their experiences, challenges, and opportunities. We will also hear about achievements resulting from initiatives taken up by refugee women and support organizations in Cyprus. Funding for women's and girls' empowerment projects, as well as response services for survivors, including humanitarian programs that combat gender-based violence, has to be scaled up. In Cyprus, the use of the EU integration funds should include such empowerment projects, and we urge the responsible authorities to include specific calls in the new programming cycle. As in all displacement contexts, in Cyprus, refugee and asylum-seeking women have many qualifications, talents, and skills. So let's support them to achieve their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Saha, for your outstanding and inspiring speech. Let us now welcome Mrs. Josie Christodoulou, who is an independent consultant on gender issues in Cyprus. Come. General issues.
Thank you, Speaker of the House, representative of UNHCR Cyprus, Ms. Saha, dear Commissioner, dear Excellencies, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. It is an honor to be included among the speakers, among great women. Special thanks to Ms. Saha and her team, and congratulations, Madam Speaker, for undertaking this event under your auspices and giving the event the political dimension that deserves. Microphone here. In 2006, when I was working for the Mediterranean Institute of Gender Studies, one of the first projects I implemented was entitled Measures to Integrate Women Refugees in the Society in Cyprus. I went back to that report. The aim was to address the problems associated with women refugees' living conditions beyond housing and propose policy recommendations on the issue. Therefore, one of the actions was try and to provide women refugees with and facilitate access to crucial practical information regarding their rights in Cyprus, as this relates to employment, welfare, accommodation, equal opportunities, as well as to provide basic Greek language courses to facilitate their induction in the society. Then, I have read a recent report, the one Ms. Saha mentioned, and one of the policy recommendations, and I quote, is to inform women and men asylum seekers about their rights, available integration policies and programs, and the report goes on saying asylum seekers must be better informed on integration programs available to them at any given time, particularly of those offering language training and improving their chances at labor market integration. In essence, 16 years later, we're still discussing the same issue. What does it mean? It means that we have failed. We have failed as a state, and we have failed as a society. And admitting the fact, naming the problem, will only take us forward. Gender issues touches upon every aspect of our lives, from migration to environment, from employment to home. Therefore, when we undertake any policy or measure or action, we must look at it from a gender lens. We have to put our gender glasses on. There are many ways in doing so. The most popular one is the so-called gender mainstreaming tool, which can potentially help policymakers to pen down specific policies that will enable equal access for both women and men in a society. Gender mainstreaming, in simple words, means we do not take any action, propose any policy, without first taking into account the different needs, concerns, and interests of both women and men. At the same time, when we're talking about women, we are not addressing or discussing only Cypriot women. Women are not a homogeneous group. Women come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different educational levels. Women with different sexual orientation, different ethnic backgrounds, migrants or refugees or asylum seekers. But as women, we face discrimination simply because we're women. Together with all these intersectionalities, and in today's event framework, the status that is of refugees or asylum seekers, their ethnicity and color adds to the discrimination these women face. At the same time, living within a patriarchal political and societal structure, such as in Cyprus, when we're talking about migrants, asylum seekers, or refugees, we tend to think of men. This is also the result of the fact that the vast majority of policymakers are men, which then results in, and is being translated in masculine-oriented measures and policies, and many times harder policies due to the stereotypical attitudes toward foreign men, and more generally still inadequately addressed. And here is where unconscious or conscious bias intersects with racism, at sexism, and hence the double and triple discrimination faced by women, refugees, and asylum seekers. And this is the hard reality they face. Ladies and gentlemen, the EU spends millions of euros for the implementation of projects in relation to integration. But what does integration mean? What does it mean for policymakers? What does it mean for the host society? And what does it mean for refugees and asylum seekers themselves, women and men? This is a discussion that never took place in Cyprus. I'm sure if I ask now the Speaker of the House, she will provide a different definition from what, if I ask Ms. Saha, myself, refugees themselves, the competent ministers, the mayor, or governmental officers working on the issue and NGOs. It's time to discuss what it means. We have to put all stakeholders around the table. Integration policies, as currently designed on a national level, are inconsistent, sporadically implemented, and restrictive. Thus, many times, asylum seekers and refugees are marginalized, and I will dare say ghettoized, which of course creates further problems for any given society. And once this happens, it many times leads to the beginning of what we call the security discourse. And as history taught us, such discourse leads to blaming everyone else except its own self. With this in mind, I'm afraid that the absence of a clear definition, and hence the absence of a holistic, gender-sensitive, measurable action plan on integration is leaving hundreds of refugee and asylum-seeking women in a precarious living conditions, since the gender impact is not addressed. As a result, women refugees face multiple challenges, including fewer labor market opportunities, weaker social integration, as well as a high risk of sexual violence, labor exploitation, and yes, many times they fall victims of trafficking. These vulnerabilities are compounded by sexist and discriminatory practices, the absence of childcare and other services, and traditional gender roles and stereotypes that pose additional barriers to integration of women refugees in our country. An example, and since I have the opportunity to have Madam Speaker here, is the fact that Cyprus has placed a reservation on Article 59 of the Istanbul Convention, which states that survivors whose resident status depends on that of a violent spouse have the right to apply for a residence permit. We need to look at this and take forward and lift this reservation. So why it's important to strengthen the participation of female refugees and asylum seekers in education, the labor market, and society? The answer is evident. First, women are first responders and transfer their experiences directly to their children. It is as essential to improve options for women today in order to strengthen female labor market and education outcomes of younger generations in the future. Second, almost half of all migrants and 1/3 of all refugees in the EU are women, thus comprising a significant share of the population. This is not only a matter of equal opportunities for all, it is a matter of a just society, a matter of a smart society, a smart state, and to be honest, it is about smart politics. It only takes political use to use any challenge and turn it into an opportunity. In light of the intuitive need for gender-specific options, it seems odd that they have been relatively little to non-consideration in integration policy in the past and now. Although this shortcoming has been noticed, we're still lacking appropriate actions to improve what has been initiated, and still remains a lack of equal opportunities in the political and economic arena for women in general, and by default, to female refugees. Ladies and gentlemen, there are still many things to be done. I have worked together with many women here today extensively on the issue. We have drafted policy recommendations, we lobbied, we advocated, we researched, and we trained. There is only one way forward, and this is the political will of any given government in combination with available resources, human and economic ones, as well as expertise. And when there is will, there is a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Christodoulou, for your stimulating speech and, of course, for your contribution. Now we have the pleasure to welcome Mrs. Balqees Mohiyadin.
Balqees is a refugee in Cyprus. She arrived from Somalia as a teenager and without her family. Since then, her achievements are many, including academic success, working, supporting herself with her studies, as well as volunteering.
Thank you so, oops, sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you. Καλησπέρα σας. Θα μιλήσω ελληνικά σήμερα. Είναι τιμή μου που βρίσκομαι εδώ μαζί σας και σας ευχαριστώ για την πρόσκληση. Σήμερα θα μοιραστώ την ιστορία μου μαζί σας. Λίγο αγχώνομαι, επειδή δεν συνήθιζα να στέγομαι μπροστά σε πολλούς ανθρώπους, αλλά θα σου πω την ιστορία μου. Ονομάζομαι Balqees, είμαι από τη Σομαλία και μένω στην Κύπρο εδώ και 8 χρόνια. Ήρθα στην Κύπρο όταν ήμουν 15 χρονών, χωρίς την οικογένεια μου. Εξαιτίας του πόλεμου χωριστήκαμε εγώ και η οικογένεια μου και κατάληξα στην Κύπρο και η οικογένεια μου κάποιοι ακόμα μένουν στην Αφρική, αλλά και κάποιοι είναι στις άλλες ευρωπαϊκές χώρες. Στην αρχή, όταν ήρθα, έμεινα σε στέγη που είναι για τους ασυνέδευτους ανήλικους. Εκεί όπου βρήθηκα την ευκαιρία να πάω σχολείο και να αποφοιτήσω ελληνικό σχολείο. Διάμεινα εκεί μέχρι τα 18 μου και μετά που αποφοιτήσα από το σχολείο, προσπάθησα να βρω δουλειά και βρήκα δουλειά, ξεκίνησα να δουλεύω, αλλά δεν ήταν εύκολο να ζήσω σε μια άλλη χώρα χωρίς την οικογένεια μου και τους συγγενείς μου. Ωστόσο, βρέθηκα άλλη οικογένεια, αποκτήσα άλλη οικογένεια στην Κύπρο και στο στέγη που έζουσα και τους γειτόνισσες μου και από το σχολείο μου. Αλλά δεν σταμάτησα να σκέφτομαι πώς εγώ και η οικογένεια μου να μπορούμε να ξαναενώσουμε μαζί. Γι' αυτό ξεκίνησα να κάνω αίτηση για την οικογενειακή επανένωση. Δέχτηκαν η αίτηση μου 2 φορές, αλλά δεν καταφέρα ως τώρα να έρθουν η οικογένεια μου να ενώσουμε. Στη συνέχεια, εγώ δεν παρατήσα να συνεχίζω για το μέλλον μου και μόλις αποφοίτησα από το σχολείο, ξεκίνησα τη δουλειά. Μετά από 1 χρόνο, έκανα αίτηση για υποτροφία για να συνεχίσω τις σπουδές μου. Το Πανεπιστήμιο Λευκοσία μου έδωσε πλήρης αποτροφή. Το Πανεπιστήμιο Λευκοσίας μου έδωσε πλήρη υποτροφία και το εκτιμώ και ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ αυτό, γιατί δεν θα μπορούσα να συνεχίσω τις σπουδές μου και να κυνηγήσω τα όνειρά μου. Ταυτόχρονα με τις σπουδές μου εργάζομαι για να βοηθήσω τον εαυτό μου και να καλύψω τα έξοδα μου. Ευτυχώς δεν περιλαμβάνουν τα έξοδα μου το ενοίκιο. Η ιδιοκτήτρια του σπιτιού με θεωρεί σαν παιδί της και μένω το σπίτι της δωρεάν. Παράλληλα, είμαι εθελόντρια με το UNHCR και προσπάθω όσο μπορώ να βοηθήσω την προσφυγική κοινωνία. Με θέματα, με τη μετάφραση, να πάω μαζί τους στο νοσοκομείο ή να βρουν σπίτι ή με το γραφείο ευημερίας όταν κάνουν την αίτηση τους για βοήθημα. Σήμερα πολλές κοπέλες δεν έχουν την ευκαιρία να μάθουν την ελληνική γλώσσα και δεν έχουν και τις ευκαιρίες που είχα εγώ μέχρι τώρα και γι' αυτό θα ήθελα να τους πω να μην παρατηρήσουν και να συνεχίζουν να αγωνίζονται για τη ζωή τους και τα όνειρά τους. Μπορείς να κτίσεις το δικό σου όνειρο και το μέλλον και πολλά πράγματα εξαρτάται από εσένα. Στο τέλος θα κάνω μια περίληψη στα αγγλικά, γιατί πολλές κοπέλες δεν ξέρουν να μιλούν ελληνικά στη θέση μου. So my name is Balqees. I just wanted to say some summary in English of what I have said in Greek. I'm from Somalia, and I came to Cyprus when I was just 15 years old. I came here without my family, and I stayed in an unaccompanied minor's house, where I went to school and I got the opportunity to learn the language. After I finished the school, I tried my best to find a job to be able to help myself and my family. I found a job, and after 1 year, I applied for a scholarship. And thanks to the university again, that gave me full scholarship to be able to study and continue my studies. I did some family reunification because I still need my family, and family is always family, but I also managed to get another family in Cyprus, where I really appreciate and I'm happy to have them in my life. I continue to study. I also work at the same time. I'm also a volunteer at the UNHCR to be able to help the community, the refugee community. And many girls in my position today don't have the opportunity to learn the language, but I would say everything comes from you, and never give up, and always be strong. As we all have come through all this war and everything, we continue to live in a country that is not ours, but at the same time, we find it like our country. And we appreciate their help and the opportunities that they give us. And I'm really, really thankful to that. Θέλω να σας ευχαριστήσω για την πρόσκληση ξανά. Και τώρα που έχω την ευκαιρία, θέλω να ευχαριστήσω την Κυπριακή Δημοκρατία που μου έδωσε την ευκαιρία να ζω στην χώρα τους και την κοινωνία που μας δέχτηκε στη χώρα τους και να ζούμε με ασφάλεια. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Mrs. Widad Banna. Widad is a Palestinian from Gaza Strip who fled to Cyprus with her husband and her 3 children 6 years ago to find safety from the war. Today, they live in Cyprus as recognized refugees. She has a Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory and has worked in several public hospitals back home. Her children attend public school and speak and write perfectly in Greek. She has been trying since she arrived in Cyprus to find work in her field. Meanwhile, she is also a volunteer in the UNHCR Refugee Outreach Volunteer Program.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me wish a happy Women's Day to all women present here. We are here to celebrate the International Women's Day. The theme of International Women's Day 2022 is Gender Equality Today for the Sustainable Tomorrow. This day aims to highlight the social, economic, political, and cultural achievement of women across the globe. It's the day to raise women to awareness about women equality. When women are given equal respect and are treated equally along with men, the society will be better. As a refugee woman, I would like to say that refugees are not even just number. We are mothers and daughters and sisters. We are teachers, doctors, engineers, students. Each one of the refugees have remarkable story, like me. I am Widad from Palestine. I come with my family to Cyprus 7 years ago to find safety from the war. I have bachelor degree in medical laboratory science. I work in several public hospitals in my country. I tried to find work since coming to Cyprus, but unfortunately I didn't find work in my field. But I don't lose hope. I'm continuing my education. Currently, I am in the last semester of my MBA program at the European University of Cyprus, after winning a scholarship from a training program I attended. At the same time, I carry on with other training courses to further enrich my skills, while I am volunteer through UNHCR Cyprus Refugee Outreach Volunteer Program for the second years to help address other refugees. From the first day I arrived in Cyprus, I knew that I would face challenges, but I decided to meet every challenge with confidence, keep trying until I find solution and accept success and failure as a part of life's journey. Through the volunteer work at Caritas and now with UNHCR Cyprus, I have gained a deeper understanding into the process that refugees face daily. The main shortcomings identified so far: first, welfare benefits for asylum seekers are very low, below the poverty threshold. This results to insufficient living conditions. Access to employment is very difficult. Asylum seekers are allowed to work only to specific low-paid jobs. Women wearing hijab are being discriminated. And problems with housing, the rental benefit is very low and arrives with delay. Landlords do not wish to rent their properties to asylum seekers and refugees and threaten them with eviction when they do not receive the rental allowance on time. Asylum seekers with disabilities are not entitled to disability allowance and other support schemes. It feels great to be able to help refugees who left everything behind, family and friends, to build new lives. I believe that refugees and locals can live together and work together to make this country a better place for everyone to live in. Finally, I would like to say that accepting refugees is also a win for the receiving country and the communities that host them by providing them with the right to work, to health, and to education. Refugees can start productive life in their host countries. The faster they can integrate into the labor force, the faster they can become productive members of society. Thank you.
Dear ladies, please accept our sincere appreciation for your inspiring presentations. We admire and applaud the endurance and strength that you have faced to get to where you are today. We will now move to the second part of our program, where we will hear about several women's empowerment projects taking place in Cyprus. Next, we will hear from Mrs. Letitia Takute, who is a refugee from Cameroon. She is a social entrepreneur and founder of YARA, which stands for Yes African Refugees Association, and Afro-G, a social impact fashion label. In addition to her studies in oil and gas engineering, she supports refugees and asylum seekers as a personal development coach, encouraging them not to give up on their dreams and help them realize their potential, self-worth, and value to society. She is also a singer. The stage is yours. Where is she?
Good morning, everyone. You hear me? Hello. 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 Sorry. Sorry. Hello. Hello.
This is fine. We can hear you, Letitia Mo. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chakuntengea Leticia. I would like to thank you for the invitation, for all the amazing presentation you have done on my small person. Yeah, and today is the International Women's Day event, and I'm so glad to be here and to share my voice as a refugee woman and entrepreneurship woman in Cyprus. I will start by sharing my screen. Do you find my screen, please? Hello?
Yes.
I'm trying to share my screen, please. Do you find? Okay. Sorry to be absent. Chakuntengea Leticia. I am from Cameroon. I am a student at the University of Nicosia, and I'm a motivational coach, as the presentation says, and the CEO of Afrogy. You asked us why we create Afrogy. Afrogy creation came where I was a motivational speaker through my community, and I wanted, okay. Afrogy is the mix of Aphrodite and refugees. Why we create Afrogy? I would like to start by small stories. When I came in Cyprus, it was in 2017. I was going through my community and I was looking at all refugees, how they were talented, but they were shy. And also I was close to citizen people where they were not too much interested about refugees. They didn't know really who they are, why they are coming here. Yes, they knew that they are refugees, but they did not really understand why they become refugees. And it came somehow on my mind to make them better understand what it means to be a refugee. And I decided to use t-shirt because I knew that t-shirt was easy to wear by girls and men. And I use t-shirt to express the feeling of refugees among the society, because I know that they will never have a microphone to talk loudly as they were shy, even if they were so talented as I see, and as we can see right now around the different things they are doing. So I decided to promote their talent by expressing what I heard from them through motivation. So to make other people to better know who they are, what they are feeling, what they can bring to the community. So that will facilitate their integration. And also I found that yes, many refugees, they are coming in Cyprus. Among those refugees, there are women who are very vulnerable, which are very abandoned to them. And we can see, as we find here, some women, they have children, but no father around. They give their best for their children to grow up, to have necessity, and they are alone. That was so painful. And that is why I decided to create Aphrodite, to share their stories. And we use a percentage to support them because they need it. As soon that we started to support them, they started to believe in them. They started to wake up and to know that, yes, if they arrive in Cyprus, if they are safe, it means that they can do something great. And I would like to thank all citizens from Cyprus and other people around the world who they are appreciating our things, caring about stories, and meriting attending in Cyprus. Even if it's still difficult, we can be happy. We can be more happy than before. Because if you see Cyprus a few years ago, and now you see, yes, it's difficult, but all our energy concentrate are moving where it's good, where we can say, yes, we still do again because we are going somewhere very amazing. So these different ladies here, they are wearing Aphrodite's t-shirt with different stories. Each t-shirt are different stories. We are sell through our page. And as we said, a percentage is used to support refugees, train them. We have some of our people that beneficiate that they go to school now. They study at the University of Nicosia as well. Other people, they create online website. We have many of them. We are very wake up and we are so happy for this project. As you can see here, I think you already saw the music that we create, which is I Could Only Migrate, which was created to explain different famous stories of refugees around the world. And I invite those people who have not listened to go to our page and to listen it. It's so amazing. Our vision through Aphrodite is to widely seen as a good person, because you know other people think that yes, refugees, they just want to eat, yes, they just want to occupy space, but no, if they leave their country, take a risk to work through desert, another person, they are taking board, they are dying, other people are saying that yes, they may die, but they still have the strength to overcome, and some are reaching a safe area. It means that they are so powerful, and that's why I invite all of us to keep work on them, bring them. If they don't have job, it doesn't mean that they cannot do anything. They can also be entrepreneurship, like me, a woman. Also, we want refugees to be respected as they deserve. They deserve respect for what they are passing through, for what they think they can bring there, and what they are bringing, as we see now. And also to make citizens and refugees to feel safe and happy at home. Because I know education is so important. If the thousands of refugees who are coming in Cyprus do not get educated, I'm sorry, but I want to say that the money that we don't invest in them to get educated, we'll invest it in security. Because we know when people are not educated, or they are not doing something great, they will become a bad thing for the community, and we don't want it, because we love Cyprus and we want to develop Cyprus all together. Compilation, since our beginning, from now, we have supported more than 200 refugees through food, health, training, coaching, having a refugee item, which is I Could Only Migrate. And we featured in Cyprus Mail and Paratito. We impacted more than 20 refugees who opened their own business and developing their talent. The most thing I want to talk about is powerful to go through people, to listen to their stories, and to see how happy they are. Wow, I don't know how to explain it mostly, but I just want to say refugees are not just a name. It's something more powerful that we need to invest in them in order to see Cyprus be better and make them feel happy. If they are happy, they're going to show what they can bring and why they decided to be alive. Okay, thank you. We want to thank all of you. Firstly, UNHCR, because me, myself, if I am who I am right now, is because of them. I want to thank them from all my heart. I would like to thank also Venice Project, we started the Aphrodite project, and I want to thank again Caritas, Cyprus Refugee Council, all the organizations who are giving their best day and night for each of us to wake up. And I also want to say, women, we are strong. Women together, we will go very far. It's possible, no matter what. Thank you so much. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or through our email. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Letitia. You can have a look afterwards at Letitia's t-shirts that they are outside on the table. I now have the pleasure to welcome Mrs. Mary Kolofsky, who is with us from the Learning Refugee in Paphos, where she volunteers as a coordinator supporting refugee families and women in the Paphos area, not only with donations and community support, but also with art lessons and homework support, to name just a few.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate the invitation to come today. I apologise if this speech is not as planned and well put together as some of the other talks that we've already listened to. It's very inspiring. But I just want to give you an idea of what we're doing in Paphos, so on the other side of the island, the work that we're doing helping refugees, asylum seekers, and actually anybody in our local community of Paphos who's in need of help. So the Learning Refuges began 2015, 2016, and the main purpose of our organisation at that time was we'd heard about children in the schools. I was working in schools at the time, providing art classes to all sorts of children. And oh yeah, these are some of the pictures. I hope you enjoy some of the slides that are just what we do at the house. We knew that at that time, 2016, when a lot of Syrian refugees were arriving, we knew that people were having issues with children in the school, language difficulties, and at that time, the after-school support was either non-existent or very low-key. So we started with the homework, and we very quickly got sort of swamped by more and more families coming with their children, not just to have the homework help, but what we realised was that they desperately needed the sense of community and interaction and being together, and mums coming together and chatting with us, the volunteers, and amongst each other. So we realised this was something very simple that was completely lacking. And previous to living in Cyprus, I have some experience of working in schools across London, and this is something, you know, we've had more experience possibly in the UK with the influx of migrants. And I think that one of the key areas where we can change things is in the heart of the schools and in the families. I think that a community is as strong as its families are. I really believe that. I see that in the work that we do every day. And so getting support to the mothers when they arrive in a new country, and their simple fact is that their children are going to school and the child's having problems integrating, making friends because of language or because of being different, this is really essential. So many mums come to us still experiencing now, 2022, still experiencing the problem of arriving in schools and finding that their child is not perhaps learning language as quickly as possible in order to fit into the schools. So we have a bunch of volunteers, not just myself. I'm probably, unfortunately, the only English one. Everyone else is a mixture. We have some Cypriot lady teachers, Holland, European. We now have volunteers who are Syrian. We have volunteers who are African. So I think another key factor at the Learning Refuge is that we encourage, once families come to us, we encourage them to join us and to give back, because this is not about sort of Cypriots teaching immigrants their language. This is about everybody teaching each other. So, you know, we're open to learning from the people who come to us. Okay, so here's some of these pictures. So we're basically a bunch of volunteers, men and women. We offer our time and our talents to help anybody, refugee, asylum seekers, or actually whoever comes and knocks on our door. Being in Paphos, it's a small community. People would complain if we didn't open the door to everybody. So we have various rooms in the house. We have a section for homework help, and that also becomes, once the homework's done, we get out all the art equipment and the kids have a good time. So big ethos is that children come and relax and have fun with a whole international bunch of children. Aside from the teaching zones, we've started this year, we've found a larger place, which you see in the pictures. We've found rooms where we can actually now encourage older kids and mums to become more productive. So it sounds pretty basic, but we got sewing machines in. And this was because the community immediately donated fabrics and sewing stuff. This is a fantastic thing, actually, for women who maybe are going to stay at home. So for sure, if you've got 2, 3, 4 or more children, you're going to be at home and you need to be at home to be a good mum. So it was an idea of ours to think, and many of the visitors who come to our house, we have to be realistic, they may not join the job market. And we believe in the Learning Refuge, they possibly shouldn't be forced into the job market if they are at home looking after children. So for us, it was extremely important to provide skills and the mechanisms for these women to be able to learn something with us that they can use at home. So, and it doesn't have to be commercial. Although we've been doing very well in our sewing centre, and I've got two lovely ladies at the back, Amina and Fida, who are members of that sewing team. Yeah. And afterwards, we have some products outside. You're very welcome to come and buy some of our products, because I felt like, yeah, it would be nice to be a bit commercially minded, you know, to give people, that gives confidence if you can make something and people want it and they're willing to buy it. So our plan this year, we've already done it once, just when lockdown allowed us to, we'll create things in our sewing centre and then we will take them out and we will sell them to people. So I think that's a great confidence booster also. Okay, so some of the things I think that we have learned working like this at the Learning Refuge is that the simple things are really important in society. What I'm hearing today is that it seems like decisions are made, policies are thought through, and the timing, the filtering down, just things don't always seem to hit. I know that accessing funding is always incredibly difficult, and I can't be bothered because it's too difficult. I haven't got time. I haven't got time because, and some of the ladies that were, people do not have time to not be with the families to start worrying about applying for funding. It's too slow. It's really difficult to access. It almost needs to be other people who find organisations like ourselves and say, who will help you in this way, or what are you doing? How can we help you do more of that? So we focus on the simple things at the Learning Refuge. And I feel that if there were lots of little learning refuges in various areas, in every town, in every city, we'd get an immediate improvement in the way society works. We provide a welcome. We provide a place where people are not rushed in or rushed out. They, sign in for a lesson at 10 and leave at 11. They can come at 10 and they're probably there till 2. As long as there are volunteers and we can sit and we can eat together and we can watch the children play. At the same time as providing some learning help and a sense of community, another huge aspect that is very successful, I think, is the local community of Paphos know us very well, and we are given constant donations of household goods, baby goods, clothes, everything that a family will need when they first come and they can't access it, and the speed they might be having, they're going out of their mind trying to get housing. They're finding it very difficult to access welfare. Social support. They might access it, suddenly it stops, they haven't got anything. Somebody said there earlier, they may face eviction. All these insurmountable, it seems, sometimes problems, and I'm hearing them every day. So we're trying to welcome people and make them feel less vulnerable. We can say, well, welcome, you come in, take what you want from these boxes. So we are given wonderful donations from the people of Paphos, by individuals, private people, and by organisations are now starting to help us. We've just been given, an open wallet to go and spend on play equipment. It's taken 5 years to get to that stage, but I think we've gone step by step by step very slowly. But people are sort of waking up that I think they feel happy to donate to an organisation where they can see exactly where it's going and every single penny is accounted for. So this is also, when we talk about funding, this is where I'm finding the support is just from people who are awake and who aren't looking for a system to provide. The systems are not particularly fast, so when you've got people knocking on your door, you just have to get on and find other ways to get what you need. I think probably one of the, I don't want to talk too much now, I think you can see a lot of the work that we're doing through the photos. I just wanted to say, I think one of the most important things that I've realised is that it's probably the same in terms on the macro scale when you look at trying to make provision, get people into the working market, trying to get women into positions where they are respected and they are equal. I think we just have to remember that has to start at a small level. That has to start in the home. So that means somebody being listened to, a woman being listened to if she goes to the police station and reports, a domestic abuse case. That can start there. We hear stories like this all the time. Instead of being sent back home to deal with her problem on her own and then finding they have to come to an organisation like us. And we sometimes feel very overwhelmed by the magnitude of the problems that people will bring. Can be anything from a sudden trip to hospital where they weren't understood and they were sent away because there wasn't a translator, and then we have to take them back to try and explain what was going on. I mean, these are this sort of very small detail of the fabric of society that if those little holes were sewn up, like my sewing centre talk, then things are going to work at the macro level. So I just feel like if there is ways to help society move to the ideals that we're talking about, we have to go to the small pockets of communities. It could be people like ourselves. It could be just each school, and look on the small level what the problems are and fix those small things. Even, you know, each local hospital, why haven't you got a translator? Why is this happening? Why are you ringing that person in the middle of the night because somebody wasn't available to deal with the woman when she came in? Those little things, once they're fixed, the big things will sort themselves out. That's my humble opinion. I think that's probably I'm finished for now. And please afterwards, if you want to look at some of the items that our sewing ladies and myself have made together, it's a small start for us becoming independent and starting to fund ourselves as well. This is part of the process. Please, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, and congratulations. Let us now welcome Mrs. Marina Georgiadou, who is the Clinical Practice Supervisor of the European University of Cyprus Occupational Therapy Program.
So, good evening, everyone. Dear Madam Speaker of the House, dear Excellencies, Mayor of Nicosia. I'm here today to represent the work of the Occupational Therapy Program of the European University Cyprus. And, oh, there's a presentation, good. So, we, as an occupational therapy program of the European University, in 2018, we've decided to expand and have our clinical practice for refugees and asylum seekers in Cyprus. So in 2018, in partnership with the UNHCR in Cyprus, we've decided to help students do their clinical practice and learn how to be an occupational therapy for displaced persons. We aim to create culturally aware occupational therapy interventions and also to enhance cultural and socioeconomic integration, as well as facilitate the participation in everyday occupations for the displaced population. The occupational therapy students, who are overseen by our clinical supervisors, they assess the occupational needs of the participants as they themselves understand and express their needs. And with that in mind, we set the therapeutic goals based on the most pressing needs. Μπορώ να τα αλλάζω εγώ. Από πού, από εδώ, τέλεια. Τέλεια. So we do use different types of intervention, and we always use evidence-based practices with our students and multiple intervention strategies like problem-solving, role-playing, and simulations, etc. And the various occupations that people need to participate and engage in their everyday life. So the role of the occupational therapy, unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, we stopped major themes of our program, such as the Kofinu Center, which we used to work with women and children, providing help for either children that have difficulties and needed occupational therapy, or to women and to single mothers on how to develop and how to use what they need for the everyday occupations. And that in Kofinu we stopped in 2020, and fortunately we started again this semester, and we are providing occupational therapy interventions for the children at the Kofinu Center, as well as support for the mothers who have children with difficulties. From 2019 until 2022, until today, we are in partnership with the Nicosia Municipal Multifunctional Foundation and the Solidarity Network in Nicosia in Action. And we have 2 days of the week for women and men who are in need of our services, of, let's say, how to get into the labor market, how to make a CV, how to prepare for an interview, how to pay their bills, like soft skills that they need, or instrumental activities of daily living that they need to support. And we also have a day for children and mothers, and we try to also provide them with the occupational therapy interventions to enhance their necessary skills and to improve their quality of life. I already said that. So we are working with unaccompanied minors in Larnaca and Nicosia. We used to work with the unaccompanied minors shelter in Larnaca that were housing girls, but unfortunately that also stopped because due to lack of clinical supervisors, as well as the we are cooperating with Hope for Children, and they're not actually managing that shelter, so we couldn't access that. We do many similar, good. So the goal is to help the unaccompanied minors transition into adulthood and learn the ways of being able to participate in the community and live in the community without the need of support of somebody else, to live independently. So we try to help them understand the way that personal hygiene or the household management, which is a huge burden for young individuals, to actually to be able to use the laundry, or to go shopping in those huge supermarkets that they've never been and they've never seen before in their lives. So we are hands-on with them in order to prepare them to be able to integrate in the community in a better way. So shopping, financial management, how to communicate with public services, what are the hours that they are open, how you can go, you have to book an appointment, where do you need to go? Like, it's really important to go to the labor office, or else you'll lose your minimal allowance that you get. So important information before they go into adulthood. Nowadays, as I explained before, we are in the municipality, in the Municipal Multifunctional Foundation twice a week, and the Kofinu Reception Center as well, and in the Larnaca shelters. And every Wednesday, as you can see, we do occupational therapy for displaced children, on individual and group activities through the therapeutic use of play, and how to make friends, how to play, how to draw and write, and take care of selves. And as you might already know, children who are especially in Kofinu or in the community of Larnaca and Nicosia, as I have experience in, they try their best to survive. So play might not be the first thing that people would give importance to. But we know how important it is for children to learn how to play in order to be socially integrated into the community. So this is one of our main focuses, especially in Kofinu and at the Multifunctional Center. So we hope that we will expand at some point because we might be a university and we might do it as part of the education program, but we focus on quality services and evidence-based practices for the displaced persons. So we do hope to organize more workshops at the Kofinu Center, as proposed by the management of Kofinu, in collaborations with experts and specialists from the European University of Cyprus. And one main themes will be how to start a small business in Cyprus, how to take care of a newborn baby, which is again an issue, especially with the facilities in Kofinu. And you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and you can contact us on those emails. Ms. Iulia Luda is the coordinator of the clinical practice for refugees and asylum seekers. Dr. Pavlina Psichouli is the coordinator of the occupational therapy program, and myself. So thank you very much for your attention.
Our last speakers this evening are Lynn Hudson and Rebecca Zipbeck from Room of Hope, where they are working with trafficked women in Cyprus. Please.
Okay, thank you for this moment, and dear participants, co-workers, and wholehearted people at UNHCR who made this evening possible. Thank you for the great privilege of inviting us here also. My name is Rebecca Zipbeck, and I am the director of Room of Hope. And here is my lovely friend and co-worker, Leanne Hudson, and she's also our community outreach manager. This truly is an honor to be part of this event, and we are grateful to share even a little bit of how hope becomes reality in our weekly meetings at Room of Hope, with women who have survived from human trafficking and who are now taking really brave steps towards their new future. At this very moment, we have more than 20 women and 15 children gathering in our weekly program. But more than just a program, we really hope and dream, and we want to see that the ladies would find relationships, people who could walk with them as families should be walking together, celebrating victories together, and when all seems lost, as sometimes it does, we would be there for each other. That's what we really hope to see more and more. Before I came here, I was once participating in one of the studies, and I heard this really impacting phrase, and it went like this. It is sometimes that in relationships we get broken, and also it is in relationships that we get healed. And for the women and children who we meet week after week, the broken story is the most common story. So much have been taken from them, and they have been experiencing too much pain and suffering. And that is why the other story of healing must take place in their life. And for us who work at Room of Hope, the best days are the days when we get to meet our ladies with holistic approach. When we eat together and have a healthy breakfast, we discuss and we learn together about motherhood, how to raise a child, how to be a good mom to your baby. When we put the music on and we start to dance. Or when we see somebody coming into the room and they are just so heavily burdened with their worries, and we listen to them, we talk with them, encourage them, and also we offer prayer if it's important to them. And these are the moments when we see that the hope becomes reality and relationships are being healing for them. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Hello. My name is Leanne, and I deliver therapeutic dance, working specifically with marginalized communities. And in a moment, I would like to share a video with you, which was delivered here in Cyprus 5 years ago. It's an intensive contemporary dance project where we collaborated with Room of Hope and Free a Victim. So originally I'm from the UK, and I've had over 10 years of experience working with marginalized and vulnerable communities, working specifically with survivors of human trafficking, asylum seekers, refugees, child sexual exploitation. I've worked within prisons and beyond. And when I came to Cyprus, sad to say, as many places in the world, there was such a desperate need for hope and for empowering women especially. So I met with Room of Hope and started my own journey working alongside them. The dance project that I will show you in a moment is amazing in so many ways. We use contemporary dance, which is a beautiful thing because it is so accessible to anyone, regardless of their experience, whether they are a dancer, a non-dancer, their size, their background, their history. It's very inclusive, and it's a way of empowering the individual, giving them self-worth, self-belief, allowing them the opportunity to have purpose and wake up in the morning and be part of a community, which is so important, especially when they've lost all of that, perhaps. And we build them up so much that after the intensive project, which lasts, depending on funding, 4 to 12 weeks, at the end, they will perform in a theatre, in a professional space. They will be professional dancers within 12 weeks, and we give them this experience that is so cherished. And when they perform on stage with a unique piece of choreography, which is specifically designed for them and their abilities, they have a standing ovation with people in the audience who may perhaps be friends, people they've met on the streets, and they are so overwhelmed by this praise and this platform. It spills into the rest of their life and takes them on a journey beyond what they ever thought was possible. So I would like to share just a snippet of the video with you, if that's okay, and then I will talk a little bit after. Okay? Thank you.
What Kinesis is providing them is a joy. It's a joy in their lives. Is a goal to wake up in the morning and go and dance.
It feels like you are in another world, like you are not in this world, just one world that you are enjoying and happy and everything, because it makes you forget everything and just listen to music and enjoy it.
It has been great to see how the ladies have started to find their inner potential and like starting to shine, that shine in their eyes when they are dancing, and when they realize that I can do actually more than I was thinking that I can do as a woman.
Il y a eu beaucoup plus en dehors de la danse. Quand je danse, je me sens bien. Je me sens libre. Je peux faire ce que je veux. Je suis très épanouie. Et je suis à l'aise. En fait, je me sens plus légère. Ça me plaît. Je souris plus maintenant. Je souris pour de vrai. J'ai fait beaucoup de choses différentes du départ jusqu'à maintenant. Et dans la vie aussi, ça aide.
Thank you. Okay, so this was a video that was filmed back 5 years ago, and we are now working towards another project with Room of Hope, so survivors of human trafficking, that will take place in April. We are also currently working with Hope for Children in the unaccompanied asylum-seeker shelter. Once a week, we work with the boys there. We also deliver work in Pathos with Mazi, Together Women, and we deliver weekly sessions there. And already we are seeing, even though it's been 6 weeks, such a transformation in their confidence, their self-worth, everything about themselves. Dance is just so powerful as a tool. It can just do so many wonders. And also we are hoping to work towards working in the prisons as well. And I would like to share with you our final thought for today, which is our new project called Destination Hope. And Destination Hope was inspired again by the extensive needs on the island. We want to expand, helping as many people as humanly possible with a team of 3. We are one other. And we have very limited funds, but we have the biggest hearts. We have passion, drive, love, dedication, focus, energy, strength, and we want to empower as many people on the island as possible through moments of hope. There are so many practical needs that, of course, we need to assist them with. But one thing for us, which is key and important, is the relational side. Being a listening ear, just giving somebody a moment of time. Even, for example, going to the petrol stations, we have helped the individuals that work there. We will open our car boot. What do we have in there? What do you need? Here you go. And it's just those little moments. You will see people gathering round. Okay, yes, I need this. Great, thank you, amazing. It will put a smile on somebody's face. And it's just those little things that we can do with the capacity of 3. And hopefully in time, we will receive funding to really expand and go island-wide, because one thing we love is to make people feel valued as a human being, regardless of your background. We hope that we can do that forevermore on this island. So thank you so much for listening. And maybe at the end, if you are interested in Destination Hope, we can give you some more information. Okay, thank you so much.
Dear ladies, we are grateful for sharing your time and your experiences with us this evening. One of the founding principles of asylum is to create a world where refugees everywhere can live safely, move freely, work, feed their families, send their children to school, rebuild their lives, and contribute to their communities. Honoring that principle means working alongside refugee women to call out and challenge the barriers that they face to self-determination. Dear guests, thank you all again for being here, and I wish you to enjoy the rest of the evening. Please join us outside for a reception. Thank you very much.